My brother is a brooding Yandere antagonist, the second male lead. However, he now has a newborn sister. When the heroine elopes with the hero, instead of succumbing to his darker impulses and imprisoning her, he coldly yet deftly changes my diaper while shaking a bottle of freshly prepared formula in his hand. As he embarks on a relentless pursuit to capture the heroine. I, in the confines of the villa, wail heart-wrenchingly, prompting him to exclaim, "Pause the abduction, I must return." To soothe the child, eventually, the protagonists tie the knot. My brother cradles me at the main table, while the couple gratefully prepares a lavish spread of baby food for me. After surveying the offerings, his expression shifts dramatically. "Do you not know that a child cannot consume anything cold? Has she defecated? Did you wash her clothes?" From a young age, my brother exhibited traits of a Yandere, while other children engaged in make-believe. He collected specimens and fossils, filling the basement with animal corpses, leading everyone to deem him a natural-born miscreant. Our parents cherished their freedom and lifestyle, but their affection did not extend to their children. Left to fend for himself, he grew amidst bullying and isolation. Yet, misfortune struck. At the age of 20, our parents, having unexpectedly given birth to a daughter, did not suddenly become responsible. Shortly after my first month, they abandoned me to embark on a trip. One fateful night, discomfort from a soiled diaper led me to cry out in the expansive villa. By midnight, the servants had retired, leaving me, a mere infant, to toss and turn alone in a cramped bed. After half an hour of wailing, the door suddenly swung open. A disgruntled servant stormed in, hurling items at me. "All you do is cry. It's utterly infuriating. Silence yourself at once." Satisfied by my sudden quiet, she turned and left, restoring the villa's silence. My mouth and nose were covered by fabric, making breathing laborious, and I could only weakly kick my legs. After an indeterminate amount of time, the fabric covering my face was abruptly lifted, and I was scooped up in a pair of large hands. Instinctively, I opened my mouth to cry, yet no sound emerged. Looking up at my rescuer, I recognized Lu Xing. If memory serves me correctly, he had just been rejected by the heroine, marking the onset of his darker transformation. He had just returned home, still clad in formal attire, his deep-set eyes reflecting exhaustion, though his handsomeness remained undeniable. "Little one, have they forsaken even you?" Gazing at his strikingly delicate features and pale complexion, a single thought flashed through my mind. So beautiful. Noticing my astonishment, he raised an eyebrow. "You little rascal." I squirmed and attempted to vocalize in baby talk. "You are the real rascal. Why is the Yandere second male lead so sharp-tongued?" He chuckled, bouncing me gently. "If they do not want you, then I shall claim you." "Come now, call me brother," I exclaimed. Ah. 3 days have elapsed since I found myself ensconced within the pages of this book. Yet, my character does not exist in the original narrative. In the unfolding plot, Lu Xing grew up in a home devoid of parental affection, leading him to develop a cold and sinister demeanor, particularly towards the female protagonist. Ultimately, his imprisonment of her breeds a deep-seated animosity from the male lead, culminating in a tragic fate, where he is left with a severed leg and meets his end in a self-immolation. When I read this story before, I deemed him deserving of his obsessive fate. However, now that I have been thrust into his world, I find myself feeling a genuine sympathy for his plight. After all, it is quite remarkable to have survived such unloving parents. I shifted my body, and then recalled that my diaper had yet to be changed, wriggling my little bottom and emitting a series of coos. Lu Xing may not comprehend my babbling, but he followed my movements and glanced down, his brows furrowing in a fierce frown at the sight. My diaper, half on and half off due to my struggles, had begun to leak. I anticipated that he would react with a disdain akin to that of a servant, repulsed by my noise and odor. To my surprise, however, he swiftly tore the diaper from my bottom and placed me back in the crib, turning to rummage for a fresh one. "Why didn't you say you needed to go? Such a messy little thing," he scolded. I protested with my coos. Thinking to myself that I had indeed communicated my needs, it was he who failed to understand the language of infants. In the next moment, he lifted me gently, using a wet wipe to clean my soiled self with great care, fumbling as he attempted to put a new diaper on me. Just as he managed to get one leg through, he abruptly withdrew his hand, staring in disbelief at the mess. I had peed. I giggled and blew a bubble, a gesture that betrayed my guilt. His expression darkened, and he raised his hand towards me. A shiver of fear ran through me. After all, a villain should not be so indulgent. Instinctively, I raised my hand to shield myself, only to feel a gentle pat on my bottom. "From now on, remember to make a sound when you need to go, all right?" he instructed. I responded with an enthusiastic, ah. He produced another diaper and successfully changed me this time without incident. Feeling more comfortable, I soon became aware of a gnawing hunger and signaled towards my belly with a series of ah sounds. After some time, Lu Xing finally comprehended my intent and asked, "Are you hungry?" "Ah," I affirmed. He lifted me into his sturdy arms, and I felt as though I had returned to the safest of havens. A wave of drowsiness washing over me. Resting my head on his shoulder, I watched him intently as he meticulously prepared my milk, gradually succumbing to sleepiness. By the time the milk reached my lips, I was nearly asleep. He gently patted my back, mimicking a tutorial he had seen on his phone, lulling me into slumber with rhythmic taps. The warmth enveloped me. Just as I was about to let out a sound of discomfort, I managed only a vague coo. Drowsily opening my eyes, I noticed the light was on, and I turned to see Lu Xing holding a small knife, poised near his wrist. A wave of anxiety surged through me, and I sputtered, choking on my own saliva. Upon hearing the commotion, he turned, his initially impatient expression shifting to one of concern as he noticed my flushed face. I felt feverish and weak, unable even to whimper. He touched my forehead, startled by my temperature, and hastily wrapped me in a blanket before striding out. "How can you have such a high fever? Don't turn into a fool," he admonished. I protested with ah, trying to indicate the small knife he had carelessly discarded. He slowly grasped my meaning, murmuring, "You don't like it?" I affirmed. Seeing my distress, he chuckled softly and tossed the knife into the trash. "If you don't like it, Big Brother won't use it anymore." The streets were desolate at that hour, and we soon arrived at the hospital. He cradled me while navigating between the registration desk and the triage area, but I felt myself growing drowsy. "Stay awake, wake up, come on," he urged. Hearing his voice, I strained to lift my head, only to wobble and lean against a shoulder again. The doctor informed us that my fever was due to consuming something cold. It was not serious, but I would need to be hospitalized for observation for 2 days. When the nurse approached to administer a shot, I noticed Lu Xing stiffen, clearly recalling a painful memory from his childhood of being pricked by a needle. Seeing the shadow that crossed his face, I grew anxious. I reached out in an attempt to cover his eyes, but my lack of control resulted in a slap to his face. He blinked in surprise, staring at me, and just as the needle pierced my arm, I smiled at him sheepishly. He sighed and pinched my nose gently. "Don't cause trouble." The nurse chuckled. "What a considerate child. She's trying to shield you from the needle." He was momentarily taken aback. "Is that so?" I cooed happily, grasping his fingers and blowing another bubble, affirming my concern for him. He fell silent, his eyes fixed on my small hand, his ears reddening. Who would have thought that a brooding villain could be so bashful? Winter brought a discomforting chill with the intravenous fluids entering my veins, rendering my arms stiff and cold. I pouted and began to wail, "Ah, ah, 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 ah." Upon hearing my cries, the man who had been exiting the room turned sharply, instinctively grasping my icy little arm. "Why is it so cold?" he asked, enveloping my arm with his large hand, warmth radiating from his touch. Before I could feel grateful, he remarked, "Such chubby arms." I was taken aback. This isn't fat, it's cuteness. I wanted to protest but felt too timid to move, resorting to gnawing on his finely tailored suit to express my frustration. He chuckled softly, the glint in his eyes reminiscent of shattered ice sparkling like stars. Such a feisty little thing. I turned away, refusing to forgive him. The limited energy of an infant soon claimed me, and I drifted into a deep sleep. In my dreams, I was still that vulnerable orphan, feverish and curled up alone on a cot in the orphanage, without even a mouthful of cold porridge to consume. Upon awakening, sunlight streamed through the window, and I turned to see Lu Xing attentively shaking a bottle of milk. Upon noticing my wakefulness, he lifted me and slowly rocked me in his arms. The clumsy man handled me with care, and as I emerged from the cold, unfeeling prose of the book, I realized that Lu Xing was indeed a flesh-and-blood person. How wonderful it felt to have a family. Upon returning home, I found the servants gathered in the hall. Lu Xing gently placed me in the cradle and, upon turning, his demeanor turned icy. "Who covered the young lady's head last night?" "Step forward." Silence reigned. No one dared to move. With a mocking laugh, Lu Xing commanded, "Very well, Zhou Bo, check the surveillance footage and send the culprit to the police station." An elderly man bowed in acknowledgement. "Yes, sir." He then bent down to tuck my little blanket around me. "If this happens again, you will no longer have a place in City A." His tone, though soft, was chilling. despite his tenderness towards me. It did not alter the fact that he was a dark and twisted soul. Yet, oddly, I found it somewhat exhilarating. Is this what it feels like to have a protective family? Once I recovered, Lu Xing grew hesitant to entrust me to anyone else. He often found himself juggling work while simultaneously rocking my cradle with one foot and holding a bottle in the other hand. Under his indulgence, I grew increasingly audacious, rendering him restless. "You little brat, you're pulling my hair again," he exclaimed. I feigned ignorance, tugging at his hair and bringing it to my mouth. Munch, munch, munch. How can this hair be so delectable? He attempted to pry my tiny hands apart, desperate to liberate his locks. Satisfied by his frantic demeanor, I finally released my grip, leaving him with strands tinged by my saliva, causing the corners of Lu Xing's eyes to twitch. "You little devil." With no time to spare for work, Lu Xing transitioned entirely to remote duties. I believed my presence had diverted him from the narrative, at least ensuring he would no longer target the heroine. Yet, he still brought the heroine back. She was a strikingly beautiful woman, teary-eyed as she implored Lu Xing for freedom. Coolly, Lu Xing, who had been infinitely patient with me, cast a stern gaze upon her, forcefully tossing her onto the sofa, interrogating, "You wish to escape with that man? Wenro, you must be more obedient, or you shall face the consequences." I comprehended why Lu Xing was so fixated on Wenro. During his darkest hours, she stood before him, shielding him from the torment of his peers. In that moment, Lu Xing believed the sun would shine upon him as well. However, Wenro perceived her actions as merely those of a decent person, unaware that Lu Xing regarded her as his sole salvation, willing to undertake extreme measures to keep her by his side, ultimately leading to irrevocable consequences. Fortunately, it was still early in the plot, and there was ample time to amend the course of events. As I observed Wenro's spirit gradually waning, I opened my mouth and began to wail. My cries, piercing like a newborn's, briefly jolted Lu Xing back to reality. He adeptly set aside his bag and lifted me into his arms, cooing, "Oh, oh." Wenro looked on in astonishment, taken aback by the tender side of such a formidable man. "By the way, I haven't introduced you. This is my sister. Her name is Lu Xing," began. Wenro, puzzled, inquired, "What is her name?" Yet Lu Xing fell silent, for I had no name. My unreliable parents had never bestowed one upon me, and Lu Xing had forgotten this detail. After a long pause, he finally spoke hoarsely, "Xiao Man. Her name is Xiao Man. Xiao Man is a name to cherish." I delighted in it, giggling contentedly. It softened Wenro's tone as she remarked, "What a lovely little girl." Lu Xing nodded proudly. The days before and after Wenro's arrival bore little difference. I continued to eat and sleep, blissfully ignorant, while Lu Xing remained the ever-dutiful caregiver. There were no signs of his impending darkness. As the time approached for the male lead to rescue the heroine, I knew I must devise a strategy to keep Lu Xing from crossing paths with him, ensuring his survival outside the constraints of the narrative. The roar of engines outside roused me from slumber as Lu Xing's gaze darkened, fixated on the silhouette of the heroine just beyond the window. As Wenro neared the brink of escape, Lu Xing sprang into action, as did I. I strained to release a massive, pungent mess. An indescribable odor began to permeate the room, and a flash of lightning outside illuminated Lu Xing's greenish visage. Gritting his teeth, he muttered, "Couldn't you have done this earlier or later? Why now?" Despite his words, he turned and diligently removed my soiled diaper, carefully cleaning me before donning a fresh one. In a flurry, he prepared milk to soothe me, unaware that Wenro had already made her escape. Watching the speeding car vanish, Lu Xing sighed. "Well, there will be other opportunities." Then his tone shifted, "But Xiao Man, you must sleep soundly," I exclaimed, awe, and playfully blew a bubble in his palm, reveling in my triumph. "You won't have another chance, brother. I will keep a watchful eye on you." Occasionally, Lu Xing would ask, "Do you miss your mother?" Before I could respond, he would lament, "It doesn't matter. She wouldn't think of you anyway." I understood he was merely recalling his own childhood, abandoned by his parents. His indulgence toward me seemed a compensation for the loneliness he endured. Though he had never experienced parental care, he was determined that his sister should not suffer the same isolation. Perhaps his fate was destined to remain devoid of familial bonds. Lost in contemplation, I nibbled at his finger, eliciting a delighted giggle from me as I clutched it. Lu Xing smiled. He now had a sister, no longer alone. Zhou Bo, witnessing this, wiped his tears and remarked, "Young master, you are becoming increasingly popular. I haven't seen you smile so joyfully in ages." Lu Xing's expression darkened, and he ominously inquired, "Are the clothes clean?" She just urinated on me. Before long, I transformed from a mere infant who could only lie down into a crawling baby. Over the span of months, I had plumped up like a ball, while Lu Xing had lost several pounds and developed dark circles beneath his eyes. After I successfully escaped from my crib once more, Lu Xing finally erupted. He discarded his soiled clothing and the milk bottle, lifting me by my armpits. "You little rascal. If you run away again, I'll spank you," he exclaimed. He smacked my bottom, and I flailed in protest, shouting, "Ah!" Just as we were reveling in sibling camaraderie, my negligent parents returned. Upon entering, my father wasted no time delivering a slap to Lu Xing's face. "Is this how you treat your sister? As they say, you truly are a bad seed." Fear gripped me, silencing my cries. Lu Xing, stunned by the blow, turned his head away, gently placing me down before standing silently beside me, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. I gasped. My parents' influence over him was far too great. Without a moment's hesitation, I crawled toward him, tugging at his clothing, yearning for his embrace. How infuriating! After nurturing such a wonderful brother, their slap could ruin everything. I would confront them, but I was too small. Before I could protest, my mother scooped me up. Her gaudy attire was uncomfortable against my skin, while Lu Xing always donned comfortable clothes before holding me, fearful of hurting me. Pouting, I burst into tears. My mother, flustered by my wailing, repositioned me into various uncomfortable positions. As my cries intensified, her fear grew as well. Seizing the opportunity, I bit her hand with my toothless gums. Startled, she tossed me back into the crib, exclaiming, "This child doesn't even recognize her mother." How terrifying! As I bumped my head against the crib's edge, Lu Xing erupted with fury. He struck my father, sending him sprawling to the ground, before carefully lifting me and gently rubbing the spot I had hurt. "Get out! I never want to see you again," he shouted. My father, rising from the floor, turned crimson and raised his fist, but retreated upon meeting Lu Xing's fierce gaze. My mother, however, merely wept. "Lu Xing, I am your mother. How can you not recognize me?" Suddenly, Lu Xing scoffed. "What kind of mother are you? Has Xiaoman ever tasted your milk or received your care for even a day?" I clung to his shoulder, sobbing, feeling his muscles tremble, and pressed my tiny body against him. The pain and humiliation his parents had inflicted upon him would forever linger. "Do not be disheartened, dear brother, for I am still here. Now I am the head of the Lu family. If you behave yourself, I may still provide you with a morsel to eat. But should you overstep your bounds, do not blame me for my ruthlessness." He smiled, a grin reminiscent of a serpent revealing its fangs, cold and sinister. "Do not dare to appear before me and Xiaoman again, or I cannot guarantee that your vehicle will not suddenly explode on the road." Our parents were left stunned, frozen in place, unsure of how to respond, while Uncle Zhou had already extended his hand to usher them out. "From now on, you shall receive a meager allowance of 20,000 per month. Now leave." They seemed poised to protest, but upon catching a glimpse of my brother's gaze, they swallowed their words and departed in disgruntled silence. Once they were gone, the facade I had maintained crumbled, and as a mere infant, I was overwhelmed by the fright, suffering a high fever that night, as if I had been cast into a furnace. My brother's anxious voice echoed in my ears, yet I was so fatigued that I could barely lift my hand to strike him. When I next opened my eyes, my entire body ached, and I saw Lu Xing standing outside the ward, gazing at me through a layer of glass. I struggled to move, but my body was ensnared by an array of medical devices. I felt so miserable, yearning for my brother's presence. Xiaoman felt unbearable pain. I opened my mouth and cried out, scanning the surroundings as if searching for someone. After a fruitless search, my wails grew louder, tightening Lu Xing's heart painfully. He could only lament that the person lying in that bed was not him. Why did a Xiaoman have to endure such suffering? When I emerged from the ICU, I had lost all my baby fat, and holding me felt somewhat uncomfortable. Lu Xing's eyes blazed with fury as he cradled the tiny bundle of an infant, his heart ablaze with an unquenchable fire. They should be made to pay for their transgressions. I was taken aback, wanting to counsel him, but instead, what escaped my lips was a garbled go-go. The arms that held me stiffened momentarily, and when I looked up, I met Lu Xing's reddened eyes. He trembled as he pulled out his phone to record, call out again. Go-go. Once more. Go-go. Again. I raised my hand and slapped him, silencing the recording. The day I was discharged was a rare sunny one, yet I unexpectedly encountered Wenru. The forces of the narrative began to exert their influence on Lu Xing once more, transforming him from a normal individual into a shadowy figure. Wenru cowered in a corner, trembling and hesitant to approach. "What's wrong? Did that man not come with you? Or have you two broken up?" Lu Xing inched closer to Wenru, each step radiating a sense of oppressive authority. Had he not been laden with an assortment of infant paraphernalia, this scene might have appeared quite dashing. Alas, he had a troublesome little sister like me to contend with. After a muffled thud, Wenru shakily pointed at me. "Lala did it." Lu Xing's composure shattered, and in a fit of rage, he scooped me up into the car, berating. "Lu Xiaoman, did you do this on purpose? Are you so pleased to see your brother humiliated?" He. Through my numerous observations, I discovered that as long as Lu Xing kept his distance from the female lead, he was merely a somewhat gloomy but normal person. Yet, upon nearing her, he became uncontrollably volatile, unable to redirect his focus on anyone but me. Realizing this, I clung to Lu Xing with renewed vigor, unwilling to let him stray even a step away. Meanwhile, the protagonists dutifully progressed through the narrative, having reached the stage of elopement. At this juncture, the female lead had been forcibly returned home, soon to be delivered to Lu Xing. In the original plot, Lu Xing imprisoned the female lead in a villa. Although he did not harm her, it incited the male lead's deep-seated hatred. When he personally pursued the fleeing female lead, he met with a car accident that resulted in the loss of his legs, ultimately leading to his demise. My task was to protect Lu Xing, preventing him from falling under the narrative's control. Thus, following Wenru's escape, I resorted to the same tactic to keep Lu Xing close. However, he merely patted my head gently, his voice soft as he said, "This trick won't work anymore, little one. Behave," and waited home for my return. I could only watch him depart with reluctance. But once he was gone, a wave of intense panic surged within me, compelling me to wail uncontrollably. Lu Xing halted in his tracks, though he did not turn back. I continued to sob relentlessly, my voice hoarse and raw. Uncle Zhou and the servants surrounded me, employing every method they could think of, yet none could soothe my cries. My once beloved toys were discarded as I pointed at Lu Xing's photo, calling out for my brother. Uncle Zhou cautiously inquired, "Miss, do you wish for young master to return?" I nodded. "But young master has very important matters to attend to." As soon as I opened my mouth, I erupted into tears once more. Seeing this, Uncle Zhou was left utterly helpless and had no choice but to call Lu Xing. Lu Xing sped along the highway. His eyes clouded as he gazed at the location information on his phone. Lost in thought, he was suddenly interrupted by a call. It was Uncle Zhou's voice. Yet, Lu Xing could not decipher what was being said on the other end, only hearing a small voice in the background wailing heartbreakingly. After a moment, he slowed down, sighed, and slammed the steering wheel, declaring, "Forget the mission. I must return to comfort the child." As he turned back, a loud crash erupted from behind, and he pulled over to witness a large truck overturned. Had he not swerved in time, he might have been crushed beneath it. Lu Xing felt a chill run down his spine, staring at the accident scene for a long time before getting back into his vehicle. Upon arriving home, I had already cried myself hoarse, reduced to a mere wail. As soon as he entered, he scooped me into his arms, showering my small face with kisses. Feeling the tremors coursing through his body, I ceased my crying and reached up to touch his sweat-soaked face. Thank goodness he was unharmed. After a long pause, he regained his composure and asked, "Xiaoman, do you know something?" I tilted my head innocently. Abba? I was just a child, unaware of anything. Yet, Lu Xing smiled in relief, holding me tightly as he said, "If you don't want me to seek out Wenru, I want tea, but you must stop hurting yourself. It makes your brother sad." I grew serious, patting his face as I replied, "Xiaoman also feels sad. All right, brother will ensure that Xiaoman is never sad again." With Lu Xing's obstacles removed, Wenru successfully united with the male lead, even resolving misunderstandings ahead of schedule, resulting in a blissful family reunion of 3. In the wake of his heartbreak, Lu Xing appeared somewhat despondent, spending his days cooped up with me, neglecting his work. One evening, after indulging in alcohol, he drunkenly lifted me, whispering in my ear, "Xiaoman, is it true that I am unworthy of love? My parents abandoned me, and Wenru sees me as a monster. A person like me is a failure in this life." I pushed away his intoxicated head, nearly retching from the stench. He paused, slowly setting me down with a self-deprecating smile. "I shouldn't have come to you in this state. Let us sleep." As Lu Xing turned to leave, I felt a slight tug on his clothing, and he looked back in surprise to see me, a tiny rice dumpling, straining to raise my hands above my head, forming a heart shape with my bent arms. Go-go, Xiaoman loves go-go. I grinned at Lu Xing, standing up to reach for him. As soon as he picked me up, I felt warmth on my neck, his tears. He held me close, but it was as if he were collapsing onto my chest, sobbing uncontrollably, gradually breaking into wails. I gently patted his head. Don't cry, Go-go. After what felt like an eternity, he finally quieted, awkwardly turning his head away to hide his reddened eyes, quickly leaning down to plant a hasty kiss on me. Brother loves Xiaoman too. Now let us sleep. With that, he fled like a startled deer. Ah. Such a thin-skinned adult. It was not until the following day that he finally realized. Xiaoman, you can walk? Upon uttering these words, I shakily stood up and made my way towards him. Everyone held their breath, cautiously observing my every tentative step. It was only when I leapt into Lu Xing's embrace that the surrounding attendants began to stir once more. Xiaoman, you can walk, Lu Xing exclaimed, lifting me and spinning me around, his face adorned with an uncontainable smile. Ah! I raised my hands in triumph. Xiaoman the Great is simply the best. To celebrate my momentous achievement of taking my first steps in life, Lu Xing resolved to host a grand celebration in my honor. My life instantly became a whirlwind of activity, as various beautiful sisters whisked me away to try on an array of exquisite dresses and jewelry. One sister picked up an emerald necklace larger than my mouth and attempted to adorn me with it. The young lady has fair skin. This necklace complements her complexion perfectly. I covered my eyes in delight, only to gaze up and behold an array of shimmering gemstones and diamonds, unable to restrain myself as I gathered them into my embrace. Money, it is all my money. Observing this, Lu Xing chuckled softly, playfully pinching my little nose, his voice dripping with affection. Little money grubber, it's all yours. No need to snatch. Nai guagua. At that moment, I began to grasp the full extent of Lu Xing's wealth. Previously, I had only known he was affluent, but I never imagined he could possess such immense riches. The mere thought that all this wealth would one day belong to me made my lips curl in a smile. As the glasses clinked and praises flowed, countless individuals approached to shower me with compliments, while Lu Xing effortlessly engaged with them. He placed me upon a throne surrounded by a bouquet of flowers and produced a document, announcing to the assembly, I, Lu Xing, hereby ask you all to witness that today I transfer all my shares in the Lu Corporation to my sister, Lu Xiaoman, in celebration of her birth. Upon finishing, he raised his glass and downed its contents in one gulp. A wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd. While they were aware of Lu Xing's fondness for me, they were taken aback by his audacity to bestow all his wealth upon me. I gazed at Lu Xing, clearly oblivious to the significance of his words, only vaguely sensing that I was on the verge of becoming a wealthy heiress. Lu Xing looked at me with a tender smile, the gloom he once wore dissipating to reveal a serene expression. He accepted a spoonful of fruit puree from a server and casually offered it to my mouth. It tasted delightful, yet something felt off. Before I could ponder further, a bright red liquid dripped onto my pure white dress, a stark contrast that was painfully vivid. I raised my head in confusion to look at Lu Xing, only to find his expression frozen, his eyes filled with terror. I wanted to stand and reassure him that there was no need to be afraid, that I was there. But as I opened my mouth, a deluge of liquid surged forth, and I glanced down to realize it was my own blood. Lu Xing rushed towards me, scooping me up and dashing outside. I could only see his lips moving, but the sound was lost to me. Am I going to die? But if I die, what will happen to Lu Xing? With such thoughts swirling in my mind, I succumbed to a dark slumber. When I finally awakened, I was greeted by a blinding white light. My body was connected to more tubes than before, and an array of machines emitted a steady beeping sound. Lu Xing, brother, where are you? I strained to turn my head in search of him. Outside the window, two handsome men were engaged in conversation. One was Lu Xing, and the other was a stranger. Lu Xing was covered in blood, appearing utterly despondent, even his usually straight posture slightly hunched. The man opposite him frowned and spoke, but Lu Xing became agitated, turning hastily to meet my gaze. In that moment, my heart fluttered, and I opened my mouth to call out. But he looked at me as if I were a terrifying beast, cast me a lingering glance, and fled in a panic. The word brother got lodged in my throat, leaving me feeling suffocated. Has Lu Xing abandoned me? A wave of panic enveloped me, and tears streamed uncontrollably down my face, even setting off sharp alarms from the machines. A crowd rushed in, fussing over me before retreating like a receding tide. Yet, Lu Xing never returned. I found myself once again isolated, struggling alone on the precipice of life and death. During my moments of lucidity, I turned countless times, hoping to catch a glimpse of that familiar figure, only to be met with futile disappointment. It was all right. If he didn't want me, it was fine. I had grown accustomed to abandonment, hadn't I? I consoled myself in this way, yet could not assuage the pain within, sinking deeper into silence with each passing day. Even upon my discharge from the hospital, I did not see Lu Xing again. The person who came to retrieve me was Uncle Zhou. He carefully lifted me into his arms, and I rested my weary head on his shoulder, devoid of any spirit. Upon returning home, my caregivers were replaced with professional nannies. Lu Xing no longer came home, nor did he seek me out. Eventually, a man burst in, disregarding Uncle Zhou's objections, and whisked me away. "Young Master Qin, you cannot take our young lady," Uncle Zhou exclaimed. The man, referred to as young Master Qin, furrowed his brow and retorted, "Shall we just watch Lu Xing destroy himself?" Uncle Zhou had no words to counter. I did not grasp their conversation, only vaguely understanding that Lu Xing seemed to be in peril. "Guagua, guagua," I cried out, struggling with fervor, desperate to reach outside. The man was startled and swiftly secured my grip as he continued onward. Don't worry. We'll go find your brother right away." As we traveled, he rambled on about how my brother had been unwell and missed me dearly. I finally recognized his identity. He was the male lead, Qin Xiao. He hurriedly transported me to a villa in the suburbs. Inside, it was dim and foreboding, causing a twinge of fear within me. Yet, Qin Xiao assured me that Lu Xing was inside, and I mustered my courage. Upon opening the door, a heavy stench of alcohol assaulted my senses, causing me to sneeze. As Qin Xiao turned on the lights, I beheld the scene. Lu Xing lay dejectedly on the floor, surrounded by mountains of empty bottles, still pouring liquor into his mouth. Startled by the brightness, Lu Xing instinctively squinted, raising the bottle as if to hurl it towards the entrance. However, upon seeing me, he froze. He gazed at me for a moment, and then, realizing, instinctively turned to flee. In a panic, I squirmed from Qin Xiao's arms, stumbling towards him. Guagua. In my haste, I tripped over a bottle and fell to the ground, instinctively bursting into tears, only to realize that no one was there to comfort me anymore. I picked myself up, covering my mouth to stifle the cries, and staggered towards Lu Xing once more. Just as I was about to reach him, I fell into a familiar yet strange embrace. Lu Xing gently lifted my skirt, and upon seeing that there were no injuries, he let out a sigh of relief. In that moment, I clung to him tightly, tears streaming down my face. "Guagua, don't leave, Xiao man." Lu Xing halted, his hand poised to brush mine away. His brow furrowed as he looked at me, sorrow etched deeply in his eyes. "Xiao man, following your brother will only bring you harm, just as it did last time with the poison. I love you, so I cannot burden you any longer." With that, he turned to leave, but I clung desperately to his leg. "No, Xiao man wants Guagua. Xiao man is not afraid of pain." Panic surged through me. I knew that if I let go, Lu Xing would vanish from my life forever. The thought fueled my grip, my tears, and snot staining him completely. "Xiao man. Be good. I want Xiao man." I babbled nonsensically, unsure if he could comprehend my words, simply pouring forth my feelings. After a long pause, I felt his arms encircle me, lifting me up. I heard Lu Xing let out a heavy sigh as he asked, "Xiao man, what should your brother do?" I wrapped my arms around his neck and softly replied, "Guagua stays with Xiao man. We are not afraid of anything." He remained silent until he finished washing up and lulling me to sleep, at which point he gently murmured, "Xiao man, I promise you, I will never leave you alone again." I nodded and tilted my head to drift off. For the first time during my slumber, I experienced a sense of security. When I awoke, Lu Xing had yet to open his eyes. His appearance in slumber was entirely different from when he was awake. He seemed less sharp and more gentle. As if sensing my gaze, he slowly opened his eyes, smiled at me, and softly said, "Good morning." I turned and nestled my round little body into his embrace, silently returning, "Good morning, brother." Upon descending the stairs, I spotted Qin Xiao sitting on the sofa with a resentful expression, dark circles under his eyes. "Why are you still here?" Lu Xing asked in surprise. Qin Xiao, rising in irritation, pointed at the door. "Your front door requires a password to open from both inside and out, and I have no idea how to leave." Lu Xing was momentarily at a loss for words. "I apologize." I nestled in his arms, giggling. By the way, I am getting married to Wenru. Here is the invitation. Though you have done many outrageous things in the past, you have recently helped us immensely. If it weren't for you, I would still be unaware of the many misunderstandings between Wenru and me. Lu Xing's gaze remained calm. I merely wished to bring Wenru joy. And if it weren't for my obligation to care for Xiaoman, she might not have ended up with you. I have missed numerous opportunities solely because I needed to look after Xiaoman. Qin Xiao, however, chuckled mischievously. Then it seems our Xiaoman is my benefactor. You must sit at the head table during the wedding. All right. I raised my hands in agreement. Lu Xing looked at me helplessly, warmth filling his eyes. On the eve of the wedding, Qin Xiao and Wenru visited our home, and I became the center of attention. Wenru embraced me tightly, inhaling deeply, and after a moment, she lifted her head blissfully, exclaiming, having a daughter like Xiaoman in this lifetime is worth it. Qin Xiao, standing beside her, kept poking my little face, agreeing indeed. How about we steal Xiaoman away? I protested with muffled sounds, but my struggles went ignored. The two exchanged glances and stealthily lifted me, inching toward the door. However, just as they reached the entrance, they found Lu Xing glaring at them ominously. Where do you intend to take Xiaoman? Wenru remained silent, while Qin Xiao turned away. Lu Xing rescued me from their grasp, effortlessly lifting me into his arms. You can't even hold a child properly. Xiaoman must have been uncomfortable just now. Wenru is about to give birth, and you two still can't care for a child. What will you do? He rambled on while deftly inserting a bottle into my mouth. Good Xiaoman, drink your milk and go to sleep. Observing the scene, Wenru spoke softly, Lu Xing, you have changed so much. Without looking up, Lu Xing swiftly changed my diaper. Of course, now that I have Xiaoman's love, she is my most important little son. I raised my tiny fist in the air twice. Yes, long live Xiaoman the Great. Content, I settled back down, continuing to suckle from the bottle. At the wedding, my brother held me at the head table while I watched Wenru and Qin Xiao, choked with emotion as they recounted the hardships they had faced over the years. They embraced and kissed through tears, while Lu Xing shielded my face. Not suitable for children. Amidst applause, they exchanged rings and solemnly vowed their lives to one another. I knew they would be eternally happy and loving. Just as I felt I might faint from hunger, the dishes finally arrived, presenting a bountiful spread of baby food before me. Qin Xiao, leading Wenru dressed in her wedding attire, approached and jokingly bowed to me. We must thank Our Lady Xiaoman, or else I would have no wife. I giggled, but Lu Xing's expression darkened. He surveyed the dining table and, in an instant, erupted in fury. Children of Xiaoman's age cannot eat cold food. Don't you know anything, considering you are about to become a father? Furthermore, if Xiaoman gets diarrhea, will you wash her pants? Embarrassed and indignant, I retorted. I am almost 2 years old. I no longer wear diapers. Lu Xing sneered, extending his hand, which was red from earlier diaper changes, and remained silent. Feeling guilty, I turned away, chuckling, and wrapped my arms around his neck, sweetly saying, Oh, brother, you are the best. He raised his head proudly, asking, Who is the person you love most in this world? Who is your dearest? Who is your closest? You most. Are you ever going to stop? The end of the text. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.